Welcome everyone to GCC Tech Talks.
We're going to get a lot of information out there for our viewers.
We're going to be speaking with people from startups all the way through to large enterprises.
Data is the foundation for AI. I think no one disagrees with that.
We're doing amazing things, but there are 10 things that have failed and struggled with before.
Technology is only going to change lives.
I think the government's doing a really good job here of pushing, being the leader in things like AI and data centers. Welcome everyone to GCC Tech Talks, where we sit down with business and technology leaders across the GCC to cut through the hype, have really candid personal conversations about them as people, but most importantly, how they're using technology and transformation and innovation to drive and enable their organizations and the businesses that they work for. We're going to be speaking with people from startups all the way through to large enterprises, so please tune in. I'm your co-host, Tom, and I'm joined today by Sai.
Hi everyone. Hi Tom. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing?
Very well.
Good.
Very excited about this podcast.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a long time coming. We've sort of talked about this, and now we're actually sat at the table here.
Correct. It's been a long time. I'm very much looking forward to this podcast, and I feel as though we're going to get a lot of information out there for our viewers. I hope everyone learns something from this show. I hope everyone takes something from this show that they can use in their lives, their jobs, and even pass on that information as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when we've both sort of moved, I've recently come back on a second stint. You've recently moved to the UAE, and we've met some incredible people in a very short space of time that are doing some amazing things. And it's like, how do we take their knowledge and their experience and what we've done and seen and actually pass it through to the people on the lens, right? And listening to this on the audio podcast, because it can be daunting, if you're thinking about, okay, I want to be a business or transformation or technology leader in an organization. What does that actually mean? Because a lot of LinkedIn, I think we see is very much, hype, and we're doing amazing things, but there are 10 things that have failed and struggled with before that one amazing thing that you see on LinkedIn. And I think that's kind of what I want to pass on to the audience, and especially kids coming through school. It's all about computers, it's all about technology, it's all about AI. So how do we enable them to learn from people in the actual jobs doing these things?
I think those are very, very good points, I think. I also think as well, the technology is only going to change lives. And that point that you made about our children, the younger generation coming through, and really grasping what it's like in the world at this current time. Can you imagine what they're going to be able to do in 20, 30 years' time? We didn't imagine these kind of things when we were growing up as teenagers.
No, I look back now and I think, what was I doing at 16? You got some of these kids who are building AI companies, and you think, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to code.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I've got 2 young kids. It's like, do I push them into what I did? I was very much a sporty person outdoors, but actually, there is value in them learning, how to go and develop technology, use the technology, and use that as an enabler to do business. And I think it's really important.
I totally agree. Totally. By the way, my 10-year-old son, I've started to teach him Python. So, I'm totally on that boat.
Well, we're going to have to get him on the podcast, that's for sure.
I think he will do all the talking, though. That's the only problem. He talks a lot.
I've met him. He's a good talker. Yeah. So I think for the audience, let's give them an idea of who we are, how we met each other. So it was probably back in April that we first met each other.
That's correct, yes. I remember the day.
What were we doing?
So I was sat in a room waiting for a presentation on Databricks partnerships, and you walked in. I remember you walking in, and you walked towards me, and I'm not joking, Tom. I thought to myself, don't sit next to me.
I'm glad you can be honest, mate.
I'm just being honest. and then you came closer and closer, and I thought, all right, this guy, I hope he doesn't start talking to me. And then you said, hello, I'm Tom. I was like, oh God, do I have to talk to him now? But do you know what? I was so glad you opened your mouth and said hello, because I feel as though the last 6 months, 7 months, it's been an amazing journey with you. I've met some incredible people here, but I feel as though I've met someone else that's in the same area that I've got expertise in, and I feel as though we bounce things off of each other and help each other to grow our businesses, shall we say?
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to our backgrounds a little bit. We are both in data and analytics, but we both come from a very different perspective.
Correct.
Like, I'm much more on the commercial side, and you are very much on the technical side. You're a hands-on guy. You've kind of gone through the ranks. You're running big data platforms and data teams at the minute. But I think that's kind of where we complement each other, because we're in similar areas, but we've got different skill set. And funny enough, when I met you as well, I remember that event and down at Blue Waters.
Yes,
which was good, talking all things, I think, Databricks at the time, for all you Databricks fans out there. But we hit it off. Turns out we actually lived quite close to each other in the UK as well, which is a bit of a small world. So where is it that you lived?
I actually grew up in central London. I moved down to a place called Epsom in Surrey. We lived there for about 5 years before we moved over here. It's a very, very nice countryside area in the UK. A lot of greenery, as you'll know. Yeah. As you'll know. A lot of greenery, a lot of walks, cycling. Very much a really relaxed atmosphere, I would say.
Yeah. And where I live is probably about a 20-minute drive. So I've still got a house back there. But I didn't grow up in London, although I worked there for a long time. I was born in the UK, but moved here when I was 4. So lived in Dubai all through the 90s, early 2000s, left Dubai in 2008. And I say Dubai, I actually moved to Sharjah first, then Dubai. So I sort of started in Sharjah, then Jebel Ali, then Al Barsha, lived in Mirdif, Jumeirah. So I've sort of lived all over the place.
Been about, haven't you?
Yeah. And then I come back and everything's different. So, it's sort of the same, but not the same.
What's changed then, Tom? Tell me.
I feel like the pace has changed.
Okay.
There's a lot of people here now. There's a lot of people wanting to move here. And you can feel that even back in the UK. Yep. Dubai, the UAE, the region, there's a lot of investment. There's I think the government's doing a really good job here of pushing, being the leader in things like AI and data centers and technology. So that's definitely changed, where there's not so much an emphasis on just construction and tourism. That's still happening a lot. But people are wanting to start businesses and tech businesses here. And I think it's helping enable a lot more founders and startups in the region, which is really good. What else has changed? A lot more schools, for sure.
Yes.
There was only about 3 schools for British curriculum. Now there are thousands. It feels like
that.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
Yeah.
What about yourself? How did you get into technology and data?
Okay, so I met a tool called Click. I'm sure some of you guys have heard about it, and you've heard about it definitely. About 15 years ago, I used to be a database administrator for about 5 years before I met Click, and something tickled my fancy. Yeah, something clicked. Literally, yeah, something clicked. And once I started to use the tool, I started to gain my passion for data. I would say over the next 5 years, I was a developer. Got involved in a lot of projects with a lot of managed service providers in the UK. And it just blew me away what you could actually do with it, how you could take data and you could basically build a P&L, a supply chain optimization dashboard. Some of the moments that I remember the most is when you saw the eyes of your customers, your clients, light up at what they could actually see on the screen. Gone were those spreadsheets that we started with when we had that first meeting.
Gone are the days when all the insights were locked in a basement somewhere with a data person.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had very similar sort of introduction into the world. So mine wasn't Click, it was Tableau.
Okay.
So I met the founder of Tableau, Christian Chabot, and it really, again, I was doing SAP projects back in the day, and this was like my first foray into making data just more accessible to people, right? People that didn't have the data skills that could now see and touch and feel data and make decisions off of it. So I spent about 6-7 years at Tableau, got acquired by Salesforce, and still got a soft spot in my heart. So that was kind of my journey into data and analytics space.
So you were right at that point when enterprises started to think that ETL can no longer live in the BI tool, right? And then now we have to introduce something in between. So along comes the data lakehouse. Yeah. So, data warehouses and then data lakehouses on cloud platforms, GCP, AWS, Azure. And I think there's quite a few out there. I think one of the ones that are my favorites is Databricks. I'm sure you've heard of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And coming back to Dubai after such a long time, the region 100% feels primed for that next wave of cloud modernization as we get ready for AI. And that is setting the foundations of all of the transformation and the business and the outcomes that these organizations are trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think data is the foundation for AI. I think no one disagrees with that statement. I feel there's a lot of hype around AI, but the foundations are missing. I think that's most of the conversations I have is we want to bring AI into our organization, but what do we need to do? And data is the ultimate foundation, so we say, for AI. And I think over the last 6 years, I've acquired quite substantial skills in the area of building, I would say, enterprise scale platforms that scale worldwide, shall we say. So multiple regions around the world, multiple setups, and organizations that, and I've seen in the last, especially in the last 10 years, I've seen a lot of organizations starting to not expand, but buy. So they acquire, and when they acquire a different organization, they become a group organization.
You're acquiring different processes.
Correct.
Acquiring different technology.
Correct.
Different people.
Correct.
Different policies.
Correct.
More scars to go through and learn and achieve as you go through these projects. Yeah, it's amazing. The kind of, I think this is, again, why we're doing this, right? Is we want to speak to the people that have been through these types of projects and change, that have come out the other side, that have learned a lot on the way, and pass that information on to the guests, our listeners, sorry.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important. So I think on that note, we will, I think it's worth joining some guests on the podcast. So I'm really looking forward to getting in this with you, mate.
Yeah, same here.
Good. Thank you.